Hey, welcome to this episode of the Juggle is Real podcast, where we navigate the busy, messy, and joyful journey of juggling work, family, and everything in between. I am your host, Andryanna, and I'm an educator. I'm a mom of three and an advocate for helping moms find better balance through self care practices and personal development tools. Today, I'm so happy to be sitting here to dive into a topic that has really been on my mind a lot lately, especially because we've just been through the hectic month of September and our routines and all of the schedules are really in full swing. And with being, being a parent, being a mom, I think we're constantly bombarded with the pressure to do more, to hustle harder, and to maximize every waking moment. And while there's growing movement encouraging us to take breaks and rest, of course, that's why I am here. There's really a catch I've been noticing more and more. And we keep hearing that rest is productive. And I have said it before, so I am no stranger to this. But what if this idea is really kind of another trap almost? So, in this episode, I want to talk about this and explore why framing something like rest being productive can actually just add more stress to our lives. And so I want to talk about why we need to reframe rest as a necessity, not just something to help us do more, but something that nurtures our nervous system, our emotional well-being, and, our soul, truly. So I'll be sharing a little bit from my own personal experience and how I have fallen into this productivity trap myself, why we really need to rethink rest for what it really is, essential. So if you're feeling the pressure to constantly be on, stick around because this episode is for you. Let's dive right in. This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started. Okay, I really want to dive into this episode and talk about this productivity trap. So let's start with this concept, this phrase that you may use that I know I have used myself. Rest is productive. On the surface, it sounds great, right? Like it feels like it gives us permission to take a break. And so that's kind of how I thought of it. But the problem is that it's kind of still framing resting in terms of what it can do for us. And it's all about productivity, how rest can help you hustle harder and how it can boost your efficiency and sharpen your mind for the next round of tasks, the do more mentality. And so I don't know, I just find that this mindset ties into a more broader cultural issue that I have fallen victim to, where we're constantly measuring our worth based on how much we can accomplish. So, there is some research and there are people who are exploring this further. Dr. Christine Carter, who is a sociologist, she's the author of The Sweet Spot, How to Accomplish More by Doing Less. It's this productivity paradox is what she calls it. And she feels that it's harmful because it still links rest with output. So what Dr. Carter says is that many of us don't actually rest to restore our emotional well-being, but rather to recharge our ability to work more efficiently. And I'm saying it, I'm sharing this because I have fallen into this trap. I was managing my work, my kids, my extracurriculars, trying to do all the things. I'd sit down for a 5-minute break only to think, okay, how is this going to help me get more done? Instead of actually tapping into feeling more relaxed, it sometimes would make me feel more anxious, thinking about, oh, if I'm not resting enough, then I won't be able to do more and what I wasn't doing. And so I just want to maybe make you aware of this mindset and how it might be keeping you in a constant state of anxiety, even when you're resting. So let's rethink this. Um, what if we started viewing rest as a necessity, not as a productivity tool? Um, yeah, rest is necessary. I think we know this, at our very most basic needs, like we have to sleep or we die, right? Like we know Maslow's hierarchy, sleep is like oxygen, right? We need it. But what if we truly started viewing rest as a necessity versus a productivity tool? It's essential for your nervous system regulation because when you're constantly going, your body stays in that fight, flight, freeze mode. Like you're constantly pumping out cortisol, that hormone that is your stress hormone. And when you don't take time to properly rest, your cortisol levels stay elevated, which can lead to more anxiety. It can actually lead to weight gain and burnout, of course. And so this is where true rest comes in as a regulatory practice to give yourself that space to get into that parasympathetic mode. So in my own experience, my past, if you're new to this podcast, I reached a point where I was in burnout and rest didn't even feel restful for me. And taking a nap was like a stressful situation. And so when you're always in that go mode, you feel like, oh my gosh, you feel that guilt. And my body literally forgot how to relax. I can remember this was before experiencing burnout, but after my wedding, going to a Scandinav spa, which has like the hot cold therapy. This was before the cold plunging was popular, but going there and being like, okay, you need to do exactly this many minutes of the hot, then exactly this minutes of cold, exactly this much time for rest. And I would just stare at the clock and I wasn't fully even tapping into what the experience is truly meant for. And that is to actually, tap into that rest and that care and just your breath. And it was interesting. It was interesting, I will say, because my body just didn't know how to relax because I was so used to that go, go, go. And so thankfully, I realized I needed to shift my approach. And that's when I began incorporating more resets into my day. And so I'm not saying that we have to do this for long periods of time, but for me, these are moments where I intentionally am stopping and pausing. And it's not for the sake of getting more energy to be able to be more productive later. It's simply to calm my mind, to breathe, and to just be. Because studies show that even short moments of stillness, such as meditation or mindful breathing, can lower those cortisol levels and can reduce stress. So it's not for productivity, it's for the sake of actually resting and coming back to yourself. So let's talk about that more. Let's talk about restorative rest and truly how impactful it can be on our well being. Because, first of all, this shift has had a huge impact on both my emotional well being and just my relationships, especially with my family. Because once I started to release the idea that rest had to be useful, I started being able to experience better rest and deeper rest. And that actually changed my mood. It actually shifted my energy levels and my relationships. And so it's funny because just a shift in my mindset of how I was thinking about rest allowed me, of course, it allows me to feel happier, have more capacity, have more energy, which, yes, I'm not saying it doesn't make me more productive. It does, but I'm not doing it simply because I want to be productive. I'm feeling more recharged. I'm feeling like I can, tackle what's going on in my day in a better way because I want to rest so that I can be more calm and more present. So there are some benefits to restorative rest and having these pauses that are not simply to do more, but simply for the sake of resting. There's actually studies from the University of California that show that mindfulness and rest practices like a restorative yoga or meditation, it increases our emotional regulation. So that means that you're less likely to react or to snap or to yell, maybe to your kids, after a long day. Or for me, sometimes I can get really overwhelmed by just the sheer number and volume of tasks that I'm juggling at any point in time, right? Like we can only remove so much from our plate. And so sometimes, I feel overwhelmed with what is going on. And that's when I know I need to shift and stop and pause so that I can reevaluate and so that I can come back to the things on my plate from a better perspective. And so when I prioritize these short moments of rest, again, not for productivity, but just for me, like just for myself and for my own well-being, I truly, truly promise you, it makes such a world of difference. So, we've talked about shifting this, but how can you reframe rest in your life? I want to talk about reframing it in our daily lives and actually how can we truly do this? So, first of all, I want to emphasize that rest, I'm not talking about a full day. I'm not talking about taking, daily, super long naps or anything. Again, this can be small, this can be short, but it should be intentional. So, for example, my husband and I share, drop off duty in the morning. That's usually me. Pickup is usually him, but sometimes I'll pick up the kids from school. And what I'll do is I'll take a few minutes in the car before I go and wait in the lineup to pick them up, and we all pile in, and it's sitting in the car in silence, or I actually have some really great, just calming music that I like, and just taking that pause and taking those deep breaths, and just recharging. It's enjoying that moment of stillness simply for the sake of the moment. So here are a few ideas that you can try, that you can incorporate this, things that are shorter and don't take too much time. What about 5 minutes? Can you carve out 5 minutes for some breathing? You don't have to have a fancy app. You don't have to be a breathwork facilitator. How about we just sit quietly and focus on our breath and taking those really deep inhales? I like so much of our breathing unconsciously is just really shallow and it's in our chest. And so focusing on those deep belly breaths, like expanding your rib cage, expanding, let that your belly like get bigger and take in the air and take those deep breaths. Even 30 seconds, honestly, if you're being really intentional about it, a minute of deep breathing can make a world of difference. What about taking a short walk, a walk without distractions? This one for me is tough because I always have my phone with me. And sometimes it is great because I listen to podcasts. You might be walking, listening to this right now, and honestly, good for you. But sometimes, or for short periods, can you put your phone on do not disturb, or can you take the music or the podcast or the audiobook off, or leave it at home or at work? Just go around the block, pay attention to what's around you, notice the sounds and the smells and the sights, and just simply be with your surroundings and take that walk and really focus on the movement. And then the last thing I'll just say is sometimes, especially in a fast-paced world and with a busy schedule, scheduling it really helps. Okay. So put those reminders in your schedule to take those breaks, and don't have an agenda. Don't be like, okay, now I need to do this and now I need to do that. Like have those pauses. In a couple of weeks ago, I shared just in your transitions, same with what I was just sharing about with the kids in the car. So you just got groceries, you loaded up the car and you're going to race to something. Take those 30 seconds, 1 or 2 minutes to just stop. And the key here really is your intention. So rest isn't about refueling for productivity. It's about maintaining your well-being as a whole, beautiful person who is so worthy of the pauses and of the time that you give yourself to be still, to do nothing, and to stop and rest your body and your mind. So I think we can wrap this up. I hope that this has landed with you. But as we wrap up our episode, just a few key takeaways. The biggest one, rest is productive. It might seem like a helpful saying, or it might be like a mantra that you're using, but just examine it. I mean, if it's helpful for you and you can truly tap into your rest, that's amazing. But just be wary that sometimes when we're really wrapped up in this hustle culture and urgency culture, it can just be another trap that adds to our stress. So just be aware of that. You can reframe rest as a necessity for your nervous system and your emotional well-being, not just a tool to get more done. Incorporating those moments of intentional rest into your day. Focus on just being rather than always doing. Rest is not another doing, to just be. And finally, giving yourself that space, giving yourself the permission, allowing and letting that rest to happen simply for the sake of it. It is a fundamental part of your health and your happiness and your overall well-being. Just like you might enjoy going to the gym or you might exercise, rest is just one of those things that for the sake of it should happen in your life. So really making it a priority. I think that's it. So I appreciate you. I'm so grateful that you tuned in today. I hope this episode gives you a fresh perspective on rest and how you can begin to honor it in your own life. If you haven't subscribed, be sure to just subscribe to The Juggle is Real for more episodes that will help you navigate this juggle between work and family and self-care and all the things. Please share this with a friend, someone who could, really gain and be supported by this information. And of course, until the next time, remember to rest because you deserve it, not because it makes you more productive, but because you are worthy of the rest that you give yourself. Thank you so much. Take good care.